Alrighty, we are live. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello. Hello. Hello. I love the
Good.
mind turtle. Hello. Oh no. Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know why we're on it. It says we're on an unstable connection. It's like, oh no, your bit rate is too high. And I'm like, what do you mean my bit rate is too? Shut up. We're not doing anything major on here. Deal with it. Anyway, uh, is Sonic here? I haven't heard him in a minute.
Yeah, he's here.
That doesn't sound convincing.
Yeah, I mean he was like 10 seconds ago.
I didn't hear him say he was getting up to walk away or anything. So
He's not muted either, so
yeah.
you're right.
What's up?
There you
We were
are.
talking about. There he is. There
Yeah,
he
we
is.
just started.
Oh yeah, I had my mic muted on. I have like a foot pedal button for muting my mic.
Oh, so
Okay.
you didn't actually mute yourself on here. Okay.
Yeah.
No.
So no, I was saying it's your turn to read to this time around.
And then nothing. And then you just heard.
And then there
nothing
was
from
just
me.
like nothing, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Did he get up and walk away? I didn't hear him say anything.
Yeah, I said I was going to the bathroom.
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my bad.
You
Yeah,
got to
I
remember.
just
You got to
went real
remember
quick.
that when the pre-roll screen is up, I have that music blaring in my ears from my end. So you have to speak up if you want to be heard.
Well, I thought Shem would have
Mhm.
heard too.
Oh, I thought so too. I was like, did he say something? And he's like, well, I didn't hear anything. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I went to the bathroom to like make sure I didn't have to worry about during the reading and whatever.
Ah,
and then also,
I
of course,
see.
Our new puppy, just
I
right
didn't
in
hear
front of
anything.
my door or pretty close to the door, decides she wants to go potty as well on the
All
carpet.
right, we're gonna run a 1 minute ad break, guys, just to
Mhm.
get it out of the way.
I mean, to be fair, she's also pretty young, but like, it's like really, I squat down right in front of it. Like really, I almost like probably should
Of
like,
Mushoku
move in to, like,
Tensei?
swipe her up or
Shit,
something.
I wish. No.
Mhm.
Sadly, no. I don't have any ideas about how we would do it. All right, there we go. So yeah, it's just basically no, I don't have. You love that anime? Hell yeah, dude! Hell yeah, that's great.
Oh yeah,
I love that you like this anime.
Real quick. What am I doing?
Anime is awesome.
Well,
Sorry.
you know, I'm probably not because I need to be reading, so I probably.
Yeah,
don't
you
wanna
need to be
looking
reading.
at that.
Chat's not the thing we should be focusing on.
Chat, don't be talking mean things about me.
Don't say mean things. You leave me alone.
Be nice to me. It's my birthday. I'm just a little guy.
All right,
Yeah.
there we go. Ad break is done. So we got another. Yeah, sadly, no, we won't be doing that. We don't have any ideas for one right now. Also, we have a lot of different projects that we are working on getting set up and prepared for right now. It's kind of ridiculous, but yeah, the anime is awesome. Now just a heads up where we are in story. The thing on the screen is wrong. We're actually on 16, not 15. But also, we're very much in the beginning of second half of season 3. So, if you're an anime only, there be a spoilers here.
Yep.
Lumi talked about the Overlord abridged one. Yeah, we recorded that yesterday. It was so good. I had a lot of fun chatting with Lumi about Overlord stuff, especially because like not only did I voice a character, I directed, I wrote, and I did like over half of the audio editing. Friends and I want to do an Invincible abridged. Dude, go for it. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, you could probably get
If
away
you
with
could-
that,
if you
'cause
could come
honestly,
up
like,
with-
the
if you
lip gloss
can-
part would be that hard.
If you can find a good concept for it, go for it. All right, where did we leave off here?
So
Sacred
We
Beast
left
has
off
been
in the middle of
summoned.
it. Yeah, we left off on like right after what was it? We got to the paragraph that starts with guess I gotta exchange this one too.
So we are on volume 16, correct?
Yes, we are. Page 48, at least for me, 13% of the way in the book.
Dude,
so
I don't understand this. It stopped
it
me
wasn't
there.
yeah,
Like,
it,
had me-
it
it
wasn't
did-
like at the beginning of a chapter, huh?
Yeah,
It was like
stopped.
right where the image of Rudius with the dog, with like the big.
Okay,
balloon.
so it's right. Oh, okay, so it's right after the dog, which means we're
Yep.
not that far.
Yeah.
We're not that far.
No.
Okay, no, this was not the holy creature the beast folk
Yeah,
looked
yeah.
up to. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Because I was like, dude, I know that we were past. It had me at the start of chapter 1, and I was like, I know. Yeah. And yeah, no, totally understand. Vox. I will also share this. When the anime comes out, we will be reacting to it and putting it up on our Patreon. We just finished reacting to the newest Slime episode and talking about like the comparison between the light novels and the manga and the anime. No spoiler stuff when we're watching, but we do want to let people know in advance, hey, we are ahead of where the anime is. And honestly, I was hoping it was going to come out during the spring because then we'd be like, oh, we're even with the anime, but it's coming out in the summer. So yeah. So yeah, there do be spoilers here. We understand if you don't want to get spoiled, absolutely understand it. Thank you. We do a little bit of house cleaning, a little bit of updates and stuff at the beginning, and then we just get started. We get into it. So the updates are, I am still waiting to hear back from Calvin for the intro, and as soon as I have the intro, Slime is done. Slime 10 is done. That's all. Like we're having to make a new opening. It's really short, really simple. Just needing to make a new opening for Slime Abridged episode 10 moving onward. That way we're not getting any copyright stuff for music. Like it's just something that we made up in house and we're just going with it. Yeah, that's the update. I'm waiting on that. As soon as I have that, Slime 10 is done. I can throw it up on Patreon immediately, and then we can start the upload process to YouTube, and then wait on all the copyright stuff that's going to go down inevitably. And yeah, once that's over, it should be up on YouTube. We're going to get another 1 minute ad in 3 minutes. That's fun. All right, so picking up here, guys. Appreciate it, but yeah, spoilers ahead. If you don't want spoilers, totally understand, but thank you for coming by, hanging out in chat, and showing your support. I do want to do some podcasty stuff here at some point, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, take it over, Sonic.
Yo.
I'm just making sure. The first word should be nope, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Nope, this was not the holy creature. Yeah.
Nope, this was not the holy creature of beast folk looked up to with such reverence. Definitely not. That was there was no way their protector god would show up here of all places. It had to be a look-alike. That's right. This thing is a lion. That's it. It was clearly a lion cub I had called here from one of an infinite number of alternative worlds. At least that was the explanation I decided upon in my mind. It was good enough for me. Although that excuse probably wouldn't hold water when it came to protecting me from the wrath of the Doldia. Uh, well, if things started going sideways, I could always ask Lord Perugius for a favor and swap this lion cub for something else. Until then, we'd have a trial period of sorts. All right. From today forth, your name is Leo, I proclaimed, thrusting my hand into the air. The sacred priest promptly licked my fingers before snorting in response. Then suddenly, he lifted his head as if he had noticed something. His gaze turned towards Roxy, or his gaze had turned towards Roxy. Leo trotted over to her before promptly shoving his face into her skirt. Ah! Hey, what are you doing? Roxy cried, bonking him with her staff. Our perverted canine merely sniffed and licked at her leg before wrapping his enormous body around her. Rudy, what am I supposed to do about this? Nervously, she geared over at me. I had no idea what was going on exactly, but it was clear that our new family member was attached to Roxy. Leo, now that I have summoned you here, you're my servant, I said in God Beast tongue. Your duty is to protect my family. Understood? Woof. He barked back cheerfully. I had no idea how useful a pup would be for watching over everyone, but since this was what I had summoned, it was gonna be our guardian beast folk henceforth. Or beast henceforth. Surely he'll prove his worth. Leo, allow me to explain a bit about what your employment here entails. I know you're used to getting your way and having people spoil you, but that won't fly here. You're gonna have to wear a collar and live in a doghouse like a normal canine. If anyone suspicious appears, you bark at them, bite them, and render them powerless. If they're too strong, you have my permission to kill them. You'll have 3 meals a day here, and you're free to take naps whenever you want. So if you desire, we'll even take you for walks when you want. If you find these conditions acceptable, please bark once. Woof. Great. That's the kind of answer I like to hear. And one more thing. It goes without saying that if you dare do anything to hurt my family, harf, his throat rumbled, as if was offended by the mere idea. Great. Then our contract is sealed. Let's shake on it. I held out my hand, and he promptly offered up his paw. And with that, our family had a new pet. Chapter 3, Opening Move. Wow, we were actually really close last time. Chapter 3, Opening Move. 2 days had passed since I summoned our guardian beast. I had his name engraved on a leather collar, which we looped around his neck, and we built a large doghouse for him. His job was essentially to be our security guard. When I woke in the morning, he'd been waiting at the front entrance as Eris and I came out to train in the yard. He could continue he would continue to stand at the entrance like a sentry until it was time to go for a walk. Once we returned home, he would come into the house and watch over everyone. Leo periodically made rounds of the house to ensure nothing was amiss. If it was, he did his utmost to remedy it. If Lucy was crying, he would comfort her. If Aisha went out shopping, he would accompany her. When asked, he would even walk with Norn to school. It was really as though we had our own home security system. Leo was incredibly intelligent. He did whatever my family told him and was perfectly toilet trained. As for tricks, he knew wait, down, paw, and beg, and even more complicated things such as spinning 3 times and barking, plus somersaulting like a cat. He was also really submissive towards my family. When Aisha or Nor nervously reached up to pet him, he would wag his tail so hard it was like a helicopter rotor. He was practically fond of Roxy and acted like a loyal knight around her. His attitude towards her was markedly different from his interactions with everyone else. When Roxy woke up, he would circle around her while wagging his tail and trying to shove his head between her legs. The first time he did that, I scolded him, saying, "I'm the only one who gets to lick her there." He acted dejected and gave up, but the very next day, he was back at it. Roxy normally commuted to work on Dillo's back, but I noticed Leo barking at him, as if trying to tell him something. I had no way of deciphering his words or knowing if Dillo was heeding them, but the armadillo seemed to flinch nervously away from Leo. I also spotted Leo hovering at the bottom of the stairs when Roxy climbed them, staring up at her as if he was worried she might slip and fall. His overprotectiveness almost made me feel like a pathetic husband for not fussing over her as much. I wonder why he was so focused on Roxy and Roxy alone. Maybe it was because he was a dog? Perhaps he could sniff out which of our family members was the most impressive. Come to think of it, Lena and Priscina seem to have the same ability. Despite acting as the perfect servant with Roxy, Leo and Eris weren't the most compatible. Or rather, Leo seemed put off by Eris. She, on the other hand, absolutely adored animals. She loved nothing more than burying her face in their soft fur and giving him a squeeze. Perhaps she had cornered him and done just that without me knowing. The Mad Sword King's power was no joke. I had experienced it myself. When she embraced someone with all her strength, it was like being crushed to death by a bear. Your life flashed before your eyes. I didn't mind her hugging me like that, but I could understand why Leo might keep a wide berth. He only approached her when it was time to go for a walk, whereupon the two of them would check the house's perimeters before setting off. Had a feeling I had a feeling this had to do with her stamina. A walk for him wasn't a stroll around the block. I suspected he was circling the entire city on his little outings. To accomplish that so quickly required impressive speed, and the only person in our household who could match such a pace was Eris. Sylphie might be able to keep up with if she tried, but just barely. In any case, Leo typically chose Eris as his partner when going for walks. Maybe he considered her a fellow security guard. Incidentally, Leo's territory encompassed a 2 kilometer radius around our house. He wouldn't let so much as a stray cat into his territory. From the look of things, he was making good on his mission to protect our family. This whole guardian beast business had given me more peace of mind than I expected. A dog was definitely a good pick. The only issue that the no, the only issue was that said dog also happened to be the protector god of the beast folk tribe. When Ghislaine came over to check on in on Eris, she was godsmacked to find Leo here. I can't understand him when he speaks, she said, but it seems to me that he came here of his own volition. In which case, the Dodoria tribe they should have no complaints. So I should be fine. It was time for me to move on to the next step of the plan, and just in time, Luke showed up at our house. I had gone out on a short errand that only took about 20 minutes. When I got home, Luke was standing at our front gate. I immediately hid in the shadows to keep an eye on him. In remembering what Orsted had told me about the man god being able to manipulate people, I also recalled the entry in my diary which mentioned Luke being used by the man god to bring Sylvie down. My future self was admittedly a bit paranoid, so his word might not be the most reliable. But if the man god did want to take Sylvie or Ariel, Luke would prove an effective puppet. Sylvie did rely on him after all, regardless of what she said about him. In other words, Luke had the highest probability of being chosen, being as one of the man god's apostles. If we were going to war with him, it would be paramount to locate his followers and suss out their movements. With that in mind, I kept a close eye on him as I darted from shadow to shadow until I was close enough to hear his voice. I never knew someone as amazing as you had come to this city. You're wonderful, adorable. Your eyes are so beautiful and full of determination, and your hair is soft as silk. You're like an angel. No, like a goddess of beauty come to grace this world with your presence. It took all but a single glance of for my heart to be stolen. His words made my head ache. What a bunch of overused cliches. Even I would never say something so sappy and exaggerated, but maybe such things were perfectly normal in this world? If I said something like that to Sophie, she'd probably go red as a tomato. I could just imagine her smiling shyly and saying, "You don't need to work so hard to butter me up. I'm already all yours, Rudy." Oh, pardon my manners, said Luke. I haven't even introduced myself. I am Luke Notorious Grey Rat, and the second son of my household. The Notorious Grey Rats preside over one of the four major regions in the Zura Kingdom. If he really was one of the man god's flunkies, it made sense that he'd lay it out on. It makes sense that he'd lay it on thick when flirting with a girl, especially if it was at the man god's command. It would be weird for him to go to such lengths if not. Luke had no shortage of women flocking to him. Based on what Sylvie had told me, he saw girls as little more than disposable sex toys. More importantly, in the heck was he trying to talk up right now? I couldn't get a good look from where I was hiding. If he was liking his target to an angel, the first person that came to mind was Sylphie. But he wouldn't dare talk to her like that. The word goddess immediately brought Roxy to mind, since that was precisely what she was to me. But it couldn't be her either. So then, Aisha, maybe? No, she was more like a little devil than an angel. If I may be so bold, would you honor me with your name? Of course, I understand if you don't wish to tell me your last name, but I beseech you, oh beautiful one, to at least share your first name as consultation. That might so that I might engrave it into my heart. At least I'd be able to hear the name of the target of his affection soon. Who was he trying to win over? Once I knew the answer, I could figure out who the man god was aiming for. Of course, this assumed that Luke really was one of the man god's apostles. I couldn't discount the possibility that he'd just fallen in love with one of my family members at first sight. Although, if it was the latter, I am a little better than a peeping Tom. Ah, I see you refuse to share your name with me. Then, at the very least, I beg of you to forgive me the honor of kissing your hand. That alone would be enough to console me. He bent forward, stretching his hand towards the other person. His head jerked momentarily, and his whole body froze. What happened? Clearly, something was up. Had the man god attacked him? Or was he being controlled right this very minute? As I contemplated such questions, Luke suddenly sank to his knees and collapsed. He didn't even twitch. He completely lost consciousness. What on earth had happened? Wait, I'm pretty sure I witnessed this before. The jerking, the collapsing, and the losing of consciousness. Oh God, it makes it makes my head pound. After Luke slumped over, a woman stepped out of our gate and stared down at him. She slammed her foot into his unconscious head. Eris. Eris is the one who knocked him out. What's your problem? Appearing out of nowhere and babbling like a lunatic? She wrinkled her nose, kicking him again to shove him off the walkway. Then she marched back into the house as if nothing had happened. I slipped from the shadows and went over to Luke. He was still out cold, the whites of his eyes showing. She'd KO'd him real good. I had to question his morals for daring to hit on one of my wives, but come to think of it, though, I had reported to Ariel and Luke when I made it home. I hadn't yet told them about my marriage. In fact, this was his first time meeting Aerolus. Still, I was shocked he tried to make a pass on her like that. Maybe the original timeline where the two of them got together had some influence over him. Or perhaps it was proof that he really was in a league in league with the man god. It was difficult to be sure either way. I pursed my lips. For the moment at least, it was best not to leave him lying outside. I decided to drag him into the house with me. I could begin the interrogation once he regained consciousness. I'm home, I said as I hauled Luke inside. Eris was there to greet me. Though she was silent at first, her face lit up when she saw me. But the moment she spotted Luke, she knitted her brows and crossed her arms. You know this guy? She asked. Yeah, well, I guess you could say he's Sylphie's colleague, to be more precise. Uh, oh, well, I'm sorry. I punched him. Oh, she's being awfully meek. I shook my head. It's fine. I bet it was his own fault for saying something inappropriate. It was, she agreed. Well, then he had only himself to blame. He got his just desserts for trying to lay his grimy hands on my heiress. All the same, I was gonna
Grimy.
lay him down. What's up?
Sorry, grimy.
Oh, grimy hands on my heiress. All the same, I was gonna lay him down somewhere so he could rest. Hmm. He'd be in the way if I put him in the living room. Maybe I should just throw him in one of the empty rooms on the first floor. Hey, Rudius? Eris called after me. Yes? Do you also want to kiss my hand? I glanced at her hand. It was covered with encalus from her training, rather rough and rugged for a woman's hand. Still, it suited her, and I liked her hands just the way they were. I'd rather kiss your lips than your hand. That earned me a swift punch to the gut. She didn't pack too much power into it, but her aim was so accurate that she caught me right in the liver. Uh, that's off limits until nighttime, Eris huffed, her face going bright red as she stomped into the living room, or towards the living room. Ah, okay, so I'm free to claim them at night then. Looking forward to it. That aside, what should I do now? Personally, I wanted to consult Sylphie quickly as I could convey my wish to aid Ariel. That way, the lot of us could work together to persuade Perugius to join at her side. Alas, I had no idea what had motivated Luke to travel here. If he come to cause problems on behalf of the man god, I certainly couldn't let that fly. I guess I'll just wait till Luke wakes up. Go take a sip of water.
Hmm.
Ah. While Luke remained unconscious, I went to check in on Sylphie and the others. I would be heartbroken if something awful were to happen to the rest of my family members while I was preoccupied with Luke. Though that was probably unlikely given that Eris was here. Leo was on top of the stairwell on the second floor, sitting obediently with an alert expression. I passed him and checked several of the rooms. Roxy's room was littered with clothes, but otherwise unoccupied. Considering Dillo was absent as well, it was probably safe to bet she'd already left for the academy. Sylphie and Aisha were cooking in the kitchen. I bet a hasty retreat, not wanting to. No, I beat a hasty retreat, not wanting to interrupt them. I found Zenith tucked in her bed, asleep, with Lilia reading a book at her side. Nothing amiss there. I found Eris playing with Lucy in the living room. Lucy had grabbed Eris' hand and climbed on top of the sofa, while Eris nervously supported her and looked on. It was a heartwarming sight, but I could only savor it for a few moments. I then returned to the empty room where I'd left Luke. He had already regained consciousness by the time I got back. I had a dream about a red haired angel. She was beautiful and sweet, but she was also so strong. My ideal woman. When I tried to kiss her hand, I woke up. He was sitting up, his eyes vacant as he mumbled incoherently to himself. He'd probably get some brain damage from He probably got some brain damage from Eris's punch. Wait, that can't be it. He was saying that angel crap before he smacked her. Please calm down, Master Luke. There's no red-headed angel. Oh, it's you, Rudius. He glanced at me absently. Wait, what are you doing here? Huh? What? Am I in your house? Just a moment ago, I was at the front gate. And this angel. What's going on? His memories were all muddled. At least it didn't seem like he had met the man god during his brief lapse of consciousness. Ah! Luke glanced behind me and screamed. I looked back, and Eris was there. She shoved the door open and was staring in. She took one glance at Luke, huffed, and marched back towards the living room. Apparently, she had been at least a little worried about him. My fragile maiden's heart was pounding with worry. Don't tell me she'd already developed some feelings for him. That can't be right. Wait! Your name! Please give me your name! If you could also give me your address and I could tell you your favorite flower, I would be forever grateful. Oh, and I'd be delighted if you could tell me what kind of man you'd like. Please calm yourself, I said. This is her address. She lives here. I managed to restrain Luke from following her out of the room, but he grabbed me by the shoulders and brought his face close. Rudius, if she lives here, that must mean you're related, right? Tell me. Tell me who is she? Who is she? Her name is Eris Greyrat. The two of us just got married. What? You married? Luke froze. So that means she's your woman? Yes, that's what that means. Given our relationship dynamic, it was probably more adept to say I was her man, but the meaning was the same. Oh. His voice trailed off. Instinctively, I said, I'm sorry. Luke shook his head. Why would you apologize? Early bird gets the worm, as they say. I suppose that's true. After hearing about this alternative timeline for Morstead, I couldn't help but feel guilty. Luke and Eris were originally supposed to be a pair. The situation felt like receiving a package only to find out it had been your neighbor's address that on it. Even so, that didn't change our past together. I was the one who had been her tutor and traveled the Demon Continent with her. We shared our first sexual experience together. Luke sighed. It's not all that rare for good women to fall for a single man, or for good men to fall for a single woman. For whatever reason, he kept going. Men often keep a number of women for themselves, but the opposite is practically unheard of. That was merely by the way God made us humans. After all, a man could give their seed to multiple women, but a woman can only have one man's child at a time. It does seem there are demon women who can have multiple men's babies at once, but the same can't be said for our race. He sure was coming at this from a biased male perspective. Of course, I was one to talk, and not one to defend myself here. I also thought it was perfectly reasonable for it to go both ways. You know, one woman, multiple men, a reverse harem. Good women tend to gather around the man who holds the most power. Luke went on, "You have power, money, status, and prestige. I can understand why that angel, Miss Eris, chose to be with you." So he paused and shook his head. "No, that's not it. I didn't come all the way here to have this conversation with you." Luke let out another large sigh. "I came here because I have something to ask of you." "Oh?" I took a seat. The timing was far too convenient. It was reasonable to think he was the man god's lackey, trying to change the course of history. I couldn't shake that suspicion, but I would hear him out either way. I assumed he would try to find some way to lead me towards my own destruction, or otherwise try to impede Alrus's ascension to the throne. Would you lend us, that is, would you lend Princess Ariel your aid? I couldn't believe my ears. What the heck is going on? He's asking for my aid? Shouldn't he be asking for the opposite? No, I had made it perfectly clear that I would assist her if needed. He wasn't approaching me with such a request out of the blue. Of course, I would be more than happy to, but why are you asking this when I'm already said I would help? Your skills with magic and abilities to befriend people are with different personalities is astonishing or astounding. On top of that, you demonstrated your fighting capabilities by returning home alive from a battle with the dragon god. He even took you in as his subordinate. Truly, such feats are impressive beyond words. Okay. It makes me feel a little uneasy when you go all out of your way to compliment me like that. However, we feared involving you would disrupt Sophie's happiness. Luke lifted his head. That is why we never explicitly requested your assistance until now. We couldn't. Neither Princess Ariel nor I wish to involve Sylphie in this power struggle any more than we already have. He said it as much earlier, when the two of us dueled. But Luke dropped his gaze. He was good he was good looking enough that such a pose made him look more like a tortured soul or tortured hero. No wonder most women fell for him so easily. In the past 6 years, we had exerted our influence with the magic nations to enlist a number of nobles and craftspeople to our side. Among them are some nobles who were born in Azura, and even some with a great deal of political sway there. But it hadn't been enough to ensure us a decisive victory. After all, these people are still outsiders in the kingdom's eyes. I said. However, Lord Perugius could turn the tide for us. He had enormous sway in the kingdoms. In addition to his forces of charisma and impressive martial power, if he had if we had him on our side, it would greatly further Princess Ariel's path to the throne. It doesn't guarantee victory, of course, but at the same time, I don't think we can succeed without his aid. Princess Ariel needs someone of impressive repute to back her. Luke was being entirely serious. Or at least I didn't detect any deception or ulterior motives. He sincerely believed Perugius was near necessary for Ariel to claim kingship. Orsted, likewise, had a high opinion of Perugius. He shook his head, adding, "But despite that, her highness was nearly given up on trying to persuade him to join us." "Well, given how it's been going, I can't really blame her," I said. "When I last saw them both, Perugius had about as much interest in her as he had in the ground he walked on, which was to say, none." Of course, meeting him was pure chance to begin with, said Luke. Princess Ariel says we'll make do without him. I agreed with her. If we spent a couple more years strengthening our weaknesses, we'd probably be able to claim victory over her opponents. Those were intriguing words. According to Orsted, there were little more than 20 days left before the news hit that the kingdom's ruler had fallen ill. If Luke had been in contact with the man god, he wouldn't be speaking as if they'd had several years to go, considering the latter would have alerted him on what was to come. Realistically, though, it would be difficult. Without Lord Perugius's aid, we would suffer great losses even if we did win. And other issues might crop up after she succeeded the crown, or secured the crown. Based on what he was saying, Ariel was attempting to trigger internal conflict in the kingdom. She needed to take the lead in this power struggle, outwitting her opponents and beating them at their own game so she could be the last one standing. She was aiming for the ultimate position of power in the most powerful country in the world. That throne could not be claimed on words alone. They would need to fight for it. But the fighting would continue even after the goal was achieved. If there was still resistance to her rule, if were still those who claimed she wasn't worthy, Ariel could lose everything after having expended all of her political capital on becoming king. Perugius, however, could act as a deterrent to such opposition. As one of the three heroes who killed the demon god, he still held sway in the kingdom. Not every noble would bend to the knee with him present, but it would certainly shut a lot of them up if the armored dragon king Perugius announced his support for Ariel's rule. Thus, Luke was desperate to have his backing. And in order to make absolutely certain we can achieve victory, I would like your assistance, said Luke. You do realize I do not know a thing about politics, right? It's perfectly possible I'll be no help whatsoever. You're a far greater person than you seem to realize. You'll be plenty helpful simply by being yourself. I scratched my head. I'm not that great. Great or not, oh wow, I can't. You're a reliable fighter, and you have connections. You've acquisition. I'm all tongue twisted now. Oh my god.
Mm.
Get some water there. You're acquainted with Lord Perugius, the dragon god, a demon king, the grandson of the Millis Pope, the entire Doldeo tribe, and Silent Seven Star. Your contacts alone are impressive. And we're not even asking you to use those contacts. It's the fact that you're so well connected that proves you possess something special. I wish only that you might share a bit of that with Princess Ariel. I kept silent. Perhaps I suspected an ulterior motive behind Luke's compliments because I hadn't spoken with him much. Still, I wondered, was he really the man god's puppet or not? Orsted had already ordered me to assist Ariel, so I would have happily, whether or not Luke requested it. However, the fact that he'd beat me to the punch made me question if he was doing this of his own volition. Maybe I should try some trick questions and see what he says. Who ordered you to come and see me? I asked. Ordered me? If you mean Her Highness, she made no such request. Which means someone else advised you to come to me? Luke shook his head. I decided to come here on my own. And does the name Man God ring any bells? Man God? I remember hearing that name when we were visiting Lord Perugius. Who exactly is that? Well, if he was in league with the man god, I wouldn't show my hand that easily. The man god never told me to keep our associations hush hush. But there was nothing to say. Nothing to say. He wouldn't forbid anyone else from speaking about him. Luke eyed me, baffled by my question. But after a few moments, he scratched the back of his head and said, I guess it does sound as if I'm contradicting myself. We do wish for Sophie's happiness, and it is possible we might rob her of that by involving her in our conflict with the kingdom. If we lay if they label us as insurgents, even the magic nation won't be able to shield us. That part scared me as well. There was no telling what might happen if we made an enemy of Azura. According to my journal from the future, Sylphie had died as a result, and the Holy Kingdom of Millis had managed to kill Zenoba. Sure, I could fight decently enough if I unleashed my magic at its maximum potential. I could even wipe out an enormous number of enemies at once. I would even be so fearsome in close combat once we had my magic armor repaired. Oh, I would even be fearsome in close combat once we had my magic armor repaired. Orsted had admitted he couldn't hold back when he was facing me in that armor. That being said, it was naive to expect to win every battle you fought head on. Not even an idiot would fight a pro wrestler barehanded. To defeat someone like that, you might stab them in the back, poison them, or use money to pressure them into submission. If you couldn't beat someone with power alone, you just had to use some other means. My future self had fortified his defenses by forging a strong relationship with the kingdom of Azura, enough that they didn't come after him, at least. Better yet, they even valued him enough to refuse the Holy Kingdom's request to hand him over. How would things go this time? With Leo in our house, would the other countries hold back, not wanting to strain their relationship with the Beast Tribe? How good of a protector would he prove to be? Orsted had assured me I would be fine as long as I had my guardian beast. According to him, Leo would be perfectly capable of keeping my family safe, since he had his own strong destiny. But that little pup really can that little pup really guard my family all by himself? However, Luke said, since you had the have the dragon god backing you, I think it wouldn't taint all Sophie's joy if we got her involved now. I wasn't so sure about that. There were places where Orsted's influence had no power. The people of this world might have heard of the seven great powers, but they didn't seem to realize how strong they were, or how far beyond human their abilities were. Having the dragon god's support doesn't mean my life wouldn't be at risk, I said. That's true, Luke admitted. He sucked in a breath and stared directly into my eyes. But that's precisely why we only need your support on the surface right now. I want to make Princess Ariel king, no matter what it takes. He glared at me, eyes gleaming. I met his gaze without flinching, surprised at how strong it was. His determination reminded me of Regard's, as if he was willing to throw everything away to accomplish his goal. And why is that? I asked. After a long pause, Luke answered, it was the last request of a deceased friend. I immediately knew he was referring to Derek Redbath. Please, won't you lend Princess Ariel your strength? I assumed that he wasn't promising anything in return because he'd come on his own accord, rather than at Ariel's behest. Rather than offering a deal, he was asking for a favor. I stroked my chin. In hindsight, I was still myself even when the man god was pulling the strings. He did give me advice, but I was the one desperately racking my brain to interpret his words and figure out how best to proceed. Perhaps the same was true of Luke. Maybe he was trying to his best to search for a friend way forward. If that was the case, I wanted to help him. There was just one problem. My opponent was neither Ariel nor the Azura Kingdom. It was the man god. If there was any possibility that aligning myself with Ariel had something to do with the man god's plan, I needed to consult Orsted first. Would you permit me to seek counsel of those around me before I give you an answer? I asked. Luke smiled, despite the look Despite looking like he wanted to cry, apparently he thought that this was my way of turning him down. He got to his feet, and after a long pause said, "All right, sorry to bother you." "Not at all. I'll give you my official answer in a couple of days, I promise." His shoulders slumped as he shuffled out of the room. I followed him, intending to see him out. We made our way through the hall and towards the front door. Leo was standing at the top of the stairwell, as he had been earlier, peering down at us. He let out a low growl, as if to let Luke know he wouldn't get past him to the second floor. Does this mean Luke really is suspicious? Though I had no idea if Leo could sniff out the man god's puppet with his nose alone. Oh? Eris peeked out of the living room, having heard the growling. Luke immediately put a hand to his chest and bowed. "Mrs., I realize I was ignorant of your identity before, but I still apologize for my rude behavior. I do hope we will meet again someday." Eris reached down to grab her skirt for a courtesy, only to belatedly realize she was wearing pants. She scowled, feeling awkward, and crossed her arms over her chest. "I'll be sure to entertain you properly next time." "I appreciate you saying that. Well, if you excuse me." Before we had a chance to leave, someone yawned from above us. "Eris, please don't shout like that. Everyone is still asleep." Sophie said she had made her way down the stairs. Oh, Sophie said as she made her way down the stairs. She must have gone up there after I checked on her earlier in the kitchen. Her eyes were still heavy with sleep. Apparently, she had gone back to bed. When her gaze landed on Luke and me, she said, "Oh, welcome back, Rudy." "Mhm. Luke? Why are you here? How come? Did something happen to Her Highness?" "I had an errand to run and decided to swing by." "Huh? Well, take your time, then. Take your time, then. I could get you some tea," Sophie offered. "No, I should be leaving." "All right. Well, I'll be heading back in a few. So take care of the princess for me until then." "Will do." Luke smiled forlongingly as he left. Sophie and I followed him to the gate and saw him off, his receding figure reminding me of a lonely salesman, completely exhausted as he made his way home from work. "What's going on with him?" Sophie wondered. I didn't respond, but I couldn't help feeling like something had been set in motion. No matter how I decided to act on this, I couldn't do a half-assed job. With that in mind, it was time to report to Orsted. Yay, doink. Chapter 4. Mine Made Up. I used the ring Orsted gave me to contact him. About an hour later, I received a letter telling me to meet him outside my cottage, off to the side. Apparently, he'd still be nearby when I reached out. He could have come to see me instead of sending a letter. In any case, I did as he commanded and set out to meet him at the agreed upon location. I arrived to find him with his arms crossed, looking as if he nodded off. He had obviously been waiting for me. I felt a little guilty for not hurrying here sooner. "Sorry I made you wait so long," I said. "No, I arrived only moments ago." We sounded like a couple who had just started dating. Anyway, I filled him in on the events since we last met, starting out with our new guardian beast, Leo. He saw no issue with that. In fact, he was shocked with that such an important animal had heeded my summons. He guaranteed me that my family's security was assured with a sacred beast guarding them. Apparently, Leo was more of a big shot than I thought. It got my atten- It really got my attention when he mumbled to himself, "Perhaps Roxy's child is special after all." I grinned when I heard that. I also suggested that having Cliff try to remove his curse. Orsted seemed willing to give it a shot. Under arrangement, Cliff would come to the cottage every few days to work on developing a magic implement that could combat his curse. Since we had no idea when we would see the fruits of Cliff's labor, I told Orsted that I would keep up the guise that he was holding my family hostage in the meantime. He kept a poker face through my explanation, then merely nodded. All right. When I admitted that I hadn't yet reached out to Ariel, he reprimanded me. I could have told him that I was worried about Eris and Leo, or that I was waiting for a good opportunity to introduce Ghislaine to Ariel, since it would be perfect for getting close to her. But those would simply be excuses. I had taken the month's leeway he had granted. I could admit I could admit I'd been negligent. Orsted had gone to meet with Perugius while I was taking my sweet time. He requested that Perugius support Ariel's bid for the crown, but he had refused. Perugius stubbornly insisted that he would not change his stance until he was certain she was fit for the position. You have some serious balls, Lord Perugius. You seem pretty terrified of Orsted, but you still rebuffed him with in no certain terms. Gotta admire you for that. That aside, I told Orsted about Luke's visit. I also mentioned that his plea for help could be on the man god's behalf, and brought up how worried I was helping Ariel out. Finally, I asked him if he had any intentions of changing his original plan. Undaunted, Orsted said, "No, we will make Ariel king." He dismissed the possibility that the man god wanted this outcome. Ariel being on the throne was of paramount importance to him. When I asked how we should deal with Luke, Orsted didn't have an immediate answer. After several minutes of contemplation, he finally mumbled, "Perhaps we should kill him." I gasped. Those were terrifying words to just say casually. "You're going to kill him?" Orsted was silent, but the look on his face was terrifying. "Wait, no, that's just how he always looks." He dropped his gaze to the table and stared, or glared, as far as I was concerned, at one specific spot. "Yep, I changed my mind. He's definitely making a scary face." There's no telling what one of the man god's apostles might do. Killing him would be the best way to eradicate any uncertainties, said Orsted. I guess so. Kill Luke? I should have already steeled myself to do whatever was necessary, but I couldn't stop my stomach from nodding in anxiety. Luke was working so hard to help Ariel, and we were just gonna kill him? Despite everything I had achieved and done, I had never killed anyone before. Sure, a bunch of bandits got caught in my spell back when we were in Baguette, and some of them probably died, but I hadn't looked them in the eye. But I hadn't looked them in the eye as I did it. So my first kill was gonna be Luke? That was gonna be my introduction to murder? The thought had made my blood run cold. At the same time, part of me felt like I had no other choice. If he was gonna be an enemy and pose a threat to my family and it was best to get rid of him. I couldn't let my emotions get in the way. It might come back later to bite me in the butt. But can I really justify taking someone's life simply because I had no other choice? I wasn't trying to preach morality here, but the idea didn't sit right with me. I was clearly more opposed to the idea of killing than I even realized, considering how much I recoiled at the thought. We're not sure if that he's one of the man god's apostles yet, right? I said, my voice strained with empty hope. Orsted shook his head. No. Given the timing of Luke's action, there can be no doubt that he is. What do you mean by that? Their attempts to negotiate with Perugias had not completely fallen through yet, and news about the king falling sick had yet to reach them. Yet Luke chose this particular moment to seek you out. It's clearly the man god's doing. Orsted spat the last words out in disgust. He really does despise the man god with every fiber of his being. In that case, why would he ask me to help Ariel? I asked. Shouldn't he be doing the opposite? If he doesn't want Ariel to be king, then he should be trying to keep me away from her. He's likely seeks to control someone from Asura Kingdom in order to lead us into a trap. Right now, the man god cannot see you directly, which is why he's using Luke. It's his way of keeping an eye on you. Think of it as someone putting their ear to the wall to hear what happened on the other side. So Luke is monitoring me. It's possible that it's possible that's not all his doing, said Orsted. There's a chance he might try something at some point. It's a safer bet to get rid of him. It was possible that I might give away Orsted's aim through my actions or words. Little wonder, then, why the man god decided to have someone surveil me. It would be impossible to keep Luke entirely out of the loop as I assisted Ariel with her goal. Let's assume for a moment that we did kill Luke, I said. Are you sure that won't negatively impact Her Highness or anyone else? Orsted narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? I started analyzing the possible repercussions of murdering Luke based off what Orsted had told me. You mentioned some guy, Derek Redbat, I think his name was originally supposed to become Prime Minister, but he's no longer with us. With his absence, it's highly likely Ariel is completely dependent upon Luke for moral support. Ariel certainly did rely on him, although she had other retainers like Sylphie. Luke played the biggest role among her immediate supporters. It wasn't affection or romance, but it was something similar to the bond I shared with Cliff and Zenoba. No matter
Okay.
what happened, I was confident they would never betray me.
Where we
Ariel
at?
likely. We're at page 58. We're at chapter 4.
Chapter 4. Okay. Then we'll wrap up when we get to the end of chapter 5, I think. If you're kind of close to that.
I don't know how far we are to that. We'll
Yeah,
see.
because
We'll just keep going
your
and see.
setup is different. You're like at 58, and I'm like, dude, this sounds like the 80s on my side.
Page
So,
58. Yeah, I just know
so-
we're middle of chapter 4 for you.
yeah, the middle of chapter 4.
Yeah.
Okay, that night I I summoned Sylphie to my room. If I was going to help Ariel, I needed to speak with my wife first. Have you already read that part?
No, we're talking to Orsted right now
Yeah.
about Luke.
Okay. No, I get that, but okay. The last time I was with
Mhm.
the
But yeah, he's contemplating killing Luke.
okay. Very
Like it's literally that meeting. Like you
Mm,
mentioned, some guy, Derek
Cliff and
Redbat.
Zenova. There we go. Okay. Okay. There we go. I
Yep,
found where
Cliff
we
and
are.
Zenobia. I share with Cliff and Zenobia. Yep, literally that paragraph.
Okay. Then in that case, you've got a couple more pages till the next gap, and that's where we'll stop at. We'll stop at the wait, but I have neither of those things. Oh well, I guess I'll just have to try my best anyway. So we'll stop after that sentence.
Okay.
You're like 3
Yeah,
pages away from it.
when.
Yeah.
Okay. The man god may have considered that we discover his connection with Luke. Perhaps his entire aim was to goad us into killing him, I said. There was no telling what might happen to Ariel if Luke died. Humans were weak. No matter how tough they seemed on the outside, they were fragile enough to fall apart under the right conditions. I had some personal experience with this. I completely lost my way, lost sight of myself when Paul died. Of course, if all we wanted was a puppet, perhaps we would be better off without Luke. I studied Orsted's expression as I conducted my internal debate. The man really nodded in agreement, his face no less terrifying than it had been before. That's perfectly plausible. The Ariel I knew was valued Luca greatly. Without him, she may not succeed on the path towards kingship. Clearly, he also didn't want a lifeless doll on the throne. So I think we should leave Luke to his own device. Oh, so I think we should leave Luke to his own devices for the moment, I said. Yeah, okay, that was partly because I didn't want to kill him, but Luke was also one of Sylvie's best friends, as well as my cousin. The two of us weren't very close, but we had enough of a connection that I didn't want him dead. On top of that, I also had a personal aversion to killing in the first place. Perhaps having sensed that, Orsted quietly replied, All right, we'll do as you advise then. Thank you. I dodged a bullet there, but we might still have to kill Luke in the end. If it down that came down to that, Sylvie might resent me for it. It might even lead to a divorce. That thought made my stomach knot up. Even so, I had to steel myself, just in case I had to cross that bridge eventually. Anyway, that takes care of the business with Luke. While I was on the subject, there was some other questions on my mind, too. You mentioned before that the man god can't control a bunch of people at once, right? I asked. About how many can he control at once then? Orsted had briefly mentioned in passing that the man god couldn't control a whole crowd at once, but that meant he could control more than one, right? I can't give you a precise number, but it's more likely around 3 people. Only 3, huh? Less than I expected. And what's the odds that he can control more than that? I asked. Not impossible, but when he attempted to kill me, he only employed 3 people to do so. None of the others came directly after me. We probably we are probably safe to assume it's just 3. Which 3 are these? The Sword God, the North God, and a Demon King. And apparently Orsted had turned the tables on all of them. A Demon King in addition to 2 of the 7 great powers, huh? Even if that kind of firepower wasn't enough to get rid of Orsted, it's no wonder the man god gave up on that route. If he's sick, uh, if he sicked those kinds of people on me, I probably wouldn't stand a chance. Although if he could have, he probably already would have. I suspected he was instead slowly altering people's destiny over long periods, as he did with me. He'd probably be a big fan of Rube Goldberg machine, or he'd probably be a fan of Rube Goldberg machine videos. I wonder why he can only take control of 3, I muttered. Because that's the limit of his foresight abilities. You mean he can only look into 3 people's futures at once? And any more than that is impossible. Correct. I wondered if it meant he might be able to control 4 people, assuming he didn't look into their futures. Nah, someone who can cheat and look into the futures would never gamble by giving up that specific power. It was reasonable to assume he would only control 3 people and no more. So if Luke is one of those 3, that means he's got 2 others under his control, I'm surmised. There's no evidence that all the there's no evidence that all that he is controlling 3 people. Oh yeah, there's no evidence that all that he is controlling 3 people right now. I shrugged. You might be right, but I think there's a good chance he's got at least one person under his thumb in the Azura kingdom. Why do you think that? Asked Orsted. If the man god truly doesn't want Ariel to take the throne, then it makes sense for him to control someone who opposes her, and someone working alongside her. Perfect for collecting and disseminating information, right? Man, the man god doesn't need to go that far to. No, I suppose there is some value in reporting your movements to the opposition. Despite his initial dismissal, Orsted managed to talk himself into agreeing with me. But now that I had thought about it, the man god could see into people's hearts. Perhaps he didn't need to gather information. Although Ariel's future prospects were obscured from his view thanks to my presence. Having someone who could keep an eye on us was more than enough for him. It's perfectly plausible he's involved in someone else entirely, I acknowledged. Like, maybe he's waiting to attack my family when I leave the house or something. With the sacred beast serving as your family's guardian, the man god can't readily go after them. That creature has enough power that you needn't worry about that. I stared at him. More than Armanfree? Armanfree? Orsted snorted. Perugius
Armanfi.
is spirit. Armang? Okay.
Yeah,
I stared at
Armanfi.
him. More than on Marfi?
You said it
Orsted
again.
snorted. Armarfi?
Arumanfi.
Arumanfi. No.
Arumanfi.
Armarfi?
Armar.
Arumanfi?
Arfarfi.
Yeah.
Armarfi? To be
Arfarfi.
fair, we're talking about... Who would
We're
win
just
a death
making it
battle, the
worse
dog
and
or the other
worse.
dog?
Yeah.
Just making it worse. Yeah. Arfarfi.
Mhm.
More than Arumarfi?
Arumanfi.
Yeah.
Arumanfi?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Arumanfi, okay.
Yeah,
We've
perfect.
ruined it.
okay.
I've ruined it with the Arfarfi thing, man.
You really did throw me off with that. Okay.
Sometimes you gotta seal the
Arumanfi?
deal. Yeah, there you go.
Orsted snorted. Perugius' spirits don't even begin to compare. It was hard to believe that he was saying, or what he was saying when Leo had yet to prove himself. But this was the dragon god speaking. Surely I could trust what he was saying. Honestly, I had no idea of knowing either way.
Leo's way better.
But he's so nice. He's like Bumblebee. He's just so nice.
All right. Leo's already way better because he's fluffy.
Hmm.
He's so fluffy and sweet.
He's fluffy.
Who would
He
hurt a
wins.
fly?
Yeah, by default, fluffy equals winning. You know.
Hmm. It's true.
And I know it was on the internet. That means it's true, right? Yeah. Because nobody lies on the internet.
Nope, not a single person.
Not a single soul.
Especially on Reddit. Never.
Yep. Never ever.
Mm-mm.
Never ever.
All right,
Forever,
continuing
ever.
on.
Mhm.
I digress, said Orsted. You're likely right about the man god having a puppet in the kingdom. I nodded. Then the key to victory will be sniffing this person out, I assume. Indeed. I know nothing of his third apostle, assuming he even has one. It could be that this person is operating separately and is unrelated to the Assyrian throne. Keep your guard up. In order to achieve victory against the man god, we had to identify his three puppets and defeat them, and accomplish our own objectives in the process. We would probably have to repeat this process again and again. Our current goal was getting Ariel on the throne. Although it wasn't confirmed, Luke was most likely one of his lackeys. The identity of the other two remained a mystery. Is there anyone you know with absolute certainty is not on his side? I asked this knowing I was asking for the impossible. It didn't really matter who the man god's puppets were, our objective wouldn't change. Still, if he assumed control over Zenoba or Cliff, and Orsted tasked with killing them, I wouldn't know what to do. I'd be devastated. Page, thank you. Your family is safe from his influence. In addition to the bracelet you wear, they are also under the guardian beast's protection. And what about Cliff and Zenoba? After a pause, he said, they could be possible targets. Be careful around them. Seriously? That's not the answer I wanted to hear. Is there anything else we can do to make sure they don't fall into his grasps? I asked. Orsted shook his head. No. If you find it necessary, you could warn them against heeding the words of someone who calls himself the man god, though I doubt it would do you any good. No good, huh? Well, that puts me in a pickle. It was a problem of chance. The man god didn't attach himself to anyone and everyone. After all I could do is pray to a different god that Zenoba and Cliff wouldn't become one of his targets. For the moment, I said, changing the subject, I should work on getting Perugia as a support to help Ariel on the path to kingship, right? That plan hasn't changed. Correct. Though you should remain wary of the man god's apostle. If he starts proposing something, inform me immediately. Very well. At least our plan of attack remained the same for the moment. In any case, it seemed that Ariel had worked herself into quite the corner. I stroked my chin. From what I can tell, she has nothing with which to sway Perugius's opinion. Hmm. Orsted merely grunted. The last time I was with the two of them, I believe he asked her what the necessary element for being a king is, and she wasn't able to answer adequately. Ah, yes. How very like Perugius to ask such a question. Do you know the answer? I asked. Orsted glared at me. You don't have to give me the evil eye. I get it. This is a hurdle she needs to overcome if she wants to be king, right? I have no idea, he said. However, the only person Perugius ever supported for the throne was Ginas Finan, or Azura. Was Gina, whatever. If you research, if you research him, you should be able to find a clue to lead you in the right direction.
I think it's Gaius
Wait.
Freenan.
Gaius Freenan Azura.
Yeah.
Was Gaius Freenus Azura.
Yeah,
There we go.
yeah.
Hmm.
Wait, so you don't know either? Well, I guess you gave me a hint at least.
Hmm.
All right then, I should be. All right then, I shall be off to see it done. It was the trump card I could use to get in contact with Ariel. Before I left, Orsted lent me one of his magical items. I said lend because he called it a gift, but I thought of it as equipment for work. It was a robe, and conveniently gray. Even though I had no part in its creation, it was a little darker than the one I had been wearing. That robe was worn by the great sage Titania millennia ago, said Orsted. It's made from a death adder's rat skin, woven with magic imbued thread. It has high magic resistance and is stab proof. It likely became a magical item after being left in a labyrinth for an extended period, where it developed the ability to reduce the wearer's weight by half, meaning one could move like the wind if needed. Since you cannot use battle aura, it should prove useful. If his words were to be believed, it was quite an incredible item. So I licked my lips. What kind of price would would something like this fetch for? I took this from the Dragon Folks repository in the past few days since we last met. It would net you a decent amount if you sold it, but I am giving it to you so that you can protect yourself. Wear it. He read me like a book. I wonder what the Dragon Folks repository was. Did he have a bunch of items like this stored in there? They probably did. I could just picture it. Boots that could open any treasure chest they kick. A trumpet that could uncover hidden rooms. At any rate, this robe would increase my combat proficiency. It was certainly a huge step down from my magic armor, but I could bridge that gap with my own knowledge and courage. Wait, but I have neither of those things. Oh well. Guess I'll just have to try my best anyway.
Stop.
That ah
Yeah,
line.
that's the stopping point.
Mhm.
That's time. There we go.
Yeah.
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 All right.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that.
All right.
He got a cape.
Right.
You tried to sell one of Orsted's gifts to you. It's like, brother, You know who gave you that. He's standing right there.
My brother in crime. No.
My brother in
Alright.
Dragon Christ. He's right there.
My brother in Dragon Christ. My brother in Goku. All right.
My brother
yeah,
in
that's
Dragon Ball. Okay.
yeah, that's gonna do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. I will be putting together the video of our reaction to Slime episode 6 of season 4 tomorrow, and then from there we'll be chilling. And I'll put that up on Patreon for everybody to view for free. That's right. It's not going to be behind a paywall, so you can watch it anytime. On your own, doesn't matter. You just hop over to our Patreon. Link is somewhere in the buttons and the doobly doo and all those things. Just you do that thing you do. We are going to raid Alex Lee, the voice of Jinu Sung. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He's
love
currently
Alex
playing.
Lee.
He's currently playing Invincible. So it's really funny.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, and some Invincible verses because he voices in that too, obviously.
Yeah,
So
he's Mark. Yeah.
yep. All right, guys. We'll see you later. Take care
Yep,
and
bye.
bye bye for now.
Bye.
I have no idea if he has raid messages on.
Dude, I gotta eat so bad. I'm gonna bail because I'm freaking hungry.